This story happened to me when I was around 8 to 10 years old, so some details may be a bit mixed up in my head. Anyway, let's get into the story. I was at Taekwondo practice and I knew my brother would be coming to pick me up soon. I felt the usual tiredness and frustration creeping in. I really despised that place, and to make matters worse, my sensei was a real jerk. So my brother came to pick me up in our parents' car. His now ex-girlfriend was in the front seat, so I chose to sit in the back. I wasn't particularly fond of her, so I stayed quiet during the ride home. It was an awkward journey, but fortunately, it was short. My brother dropped me off and then left with his girlfriend. I found myself alone in my family's apartment. As a kid, and being into creepy stuff, I was absolutely terrified of the dark, to the point where I had to stay up until after midnight to sleep, unless someone else was in the same room with me. My reasoning was simple. If a monster were to come in, it would take them, not me. So, I opened the apartment's door and quickly scrambled to find a light switch. As I entered, I realized that the entire house was engulfed in pitch black darkness, except for the spot where I was standing. I decided to sit down by the door, unsure how much time had passed. Let me describe the layout of my house at the time. The front door led outside, and to the right was the living room. Straight ahead were the stairs leading to the second floor, and to my left was a corridor that led to 3 rooms. At the end of the corridor, there's the bathroom. To the right is the kitchen, and to the left is my dad's office. That place always scared me because it felt like something could grab you from anywhere. After a while, I started hearing noises coming from the kitchen. It was a loud bang, the kind of noise you hear when someone forcefully closes the drawer. I got startled and shifted my gaze toward the closed kitchen door. About a minute passed and I heard a second bang, followed by a third. Before I knew it, there was glass breaking, drawers flying everywhere, buzzing sounds, and the clatter of metal objects being thrown. I was scared out of my wits, so I grabbed my crappy phone and called my mother, urgently telling her to get here now. The good news was that she was on her way. The bad news, however, was that she was 20 to 40 minutes away because my sister needed to get her pimples checked. So there I was, stuck in a fetal position beside the door, while pandemonium unfolded in the kitchen, and my mom was almost an hour away. Finally, my mom arrived, and as soon as she opened the door, everything went quiet. Not even the sound of birds chirping or the wind could be heard. I explained what had happened while tears streamed down my face, and she went to investigate. And guess what? The kitchen was tidied up, perhaps even more so than how she had left it. My family didn't believe me, and I cursed at my brother's girlfriend, because if it weren't for her, my brother would have been here to protect me. My mom only started to believe me after she got more into Christianity, and now she'd worry of anything paranormal. That freaking ghost scared me half to death and then cleaned up. I have no idea what it was, but I witnessed it as a child, and it remains an unexplained memory that I still vividly recall to this day. I was around 9 years old and home alone because my parents were still at work. I was engrossed in watching TV when the program I was watching suddenly cut out. On the screen, instead of the show, appeared a man in a blue shirt, sitting in what seemed like a blank, eerie looking room. The footage had a bluish tint to it, as if it had been shot on a low quality camera with poor lighting. The man on screen was staring directly at the camera, and it felt as though he was staring right at me, sending shivers down my spine. Then, without warning, he vanished, and the show resumed as if nothing had happened. I distinctly remembered that it wasn't a commercial, because I didn't see any commercials during that time. This happened around 2004, so the technology available at the time was far less advanced than what we have today. It was an odd, freaky experience, and even as a grown adult, and I still can't shake the feeling of discomfort that it left me with. I live alone and it's never been an issue for me. Some of my past boyfriends have suggested I should consider getting a roommate, but I've never felt the need. I've been in this apartment for almost a year and a half now. It's not super old, maybe around 60 years old at most. Yesterday I was at home after work, winding down for bed. I turned off my TV, all my lights, and headed to brush my teeth and clean up. At this point, everything was off. I did my usual routine, and as I was heading out of the bathroom to my bedroom across the hall, I heard a small thump in my living room. I figured it was one of my cats, so I went to check and see if anything was damaged. As my cats tend to be mischievous, I walked in, flicked on the light, and saw nothing. Nothing was out of place, however my cat Loki was losing his mind, and all squared up at a corner of the room. He was facing the direction of my room, the way I had just came from. I know my cats very well, and yes, they sometimes stare at walls, but he was freaked the hell out, which was very out of character for him. My other cat, Odin, was spooked but not nearly as much. After a couple seconds of assessing the situation, I heard, crystal clear, a laugh come from my bathroom. It didn't sound evil, but it certainly didn't sound nice. I live in an apartment, so I'm used to hearing various sounds. However, a few things really got my skin crawling here. First, I know what my neighbors sound like, and it was definitely not them. Second, I'm located on the corner of the building, so the direction the sound came from would either be the stairwell or outside the building. But it wasn't muffled, it was clear. And finally, it was obvious where the sound came from. I live on the second floor and there's no way to get that clear of a sound in my apartment without being in my apartment. And finally, today at work, I thought I'd heard the same laugh in the bathroom at work, very faintly outside the door. I'm incredibly distraught and freaked out. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I live alone in the suburbs of Atlanta. Last night at 9:30 p.m., I took my dog outside to the backyard. For context, I have a large chain-link fenced-in backyard with taller grass and shrubbery. My backyard is surrounded by other houses and a wooded area. At the time of this experience, the surrounding houses had their lights off, and it didn't seem like any of my neighbors were outside. At around 9:50 p.m., I was standing close to the tall grass when I heard a quiet, "Hey," come from the fence line. It was dark in that area, so I assumed it was some kind of animal. And since I didn't want to freak myself out, I tried my best to ignore it. 5 seconds later, I heard the voice again, "Hey." This time I could tell it was a woman's voice. The voice then continued saying, "Hey, come here, come here." It distinctly sounded like a woman trying to get me to come over there. But my gut told me to go inside ASAP. I freaked out and ran inside. My dog, sadly unaware what was going on, refused to follow me inside. Visibly shaking, I frantically called my boyfriend, who rushed over to investigate the backyard. Of course, he found nothing and assured me it was likely just an animal. I've read a couple of Reddit posts about animals sounding like humans, and I tried my best to come up with a logical explanation. But I am certain I heard a human voice calling me. The voice was undeniably human. While I was outside last night, I never heard any footsteps or rustling in the woods. It feels like whatever was calling to me must have been right outside my fence line and was trying to get me closer. I'm not sure if I experienced a person or some kind of creature, but whatever it was felt so evil. I knew I was in danger by being outside. I'm terrified to go outside at night, but I can't avoid it. Has anyone else ever experienced anything like this? And is there anything I can do to prevent it from happening again?